Black Culture Podcast at you again. I am the Willie Ashford.
Price, what up, y'all? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Let's start this out with a bang. First episode of 2022.
First episode of 2022. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. And listen, man, we gonna jump right into it. We're gonna give thanks at the end because we're gonna jump into our guy, one of the most talented receivers that the NFL have seen, in my opinion, Antonio Brown. You talk about pure talent, right? You just talk about a guy that didn't have the size, but that literally was the only thing he didn't have, was like your typical wide receiver height. Everything else, the speed, he was strong. He could run routes, a great route runner, great run after catch. He did punt return, kick return. I mean, just one of those players when they say just find a way to get the ball in his hand. He was that talented. Statistically, he had like a 4-year stretch to where, if we're not talking about off the field things or even on the field things, we're talking about for sure, no question, first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, there's no question. If you go look at from these years that he had, you talking about, man, just one of the most talented receivers that this game has seen. There was nothing he couldn't do. And like I said, when it comes to him like playing like the Hall of Fame, that conversation will come up. I think off the field antics will be the reason why it'll be the reason why he didn't make it, because there was nothing he couldn't do on the field. Started off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Started off in the NFL. He was a late round draft pick. Let me pull up his stats real quick because I really want to go through the timeline like of Antonio Brown. Like, so from Miami, Florida, it's a lot of talent to come out of Miami. Drafted in the 6th round, pick 195. So we're talking about a 6th round pick he's a Hall of Famer. If we don't talk about the off the field, he is a 4-time first team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL receiving leader, 2-time NFL reception leaders, NFL receiving touchdown leader in 2018. He's on the 2010 All-Decade teams. Let's stop right there. Do you know how talented you have to be to make an All-Decade team? Like, to think about the receivers that like 2010s All-Decade teams. That means he's in there with the Julio Jones. That means he's in there with the Hopkins from he was in Houston at the time, Calvin Johnson. He's the All-Decade team. That's how talented he was. But his issues really started to happen in let's say maybe 2017. Let's just say public issues that we know about. 2017, to where his first public issue was after a big win in the locker room. You know, the team goes in and Mike Tomlin, who's the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're doing their team meeting, and this dude is going live in the middle of a post-game speech. Now, Price, you've played sports. We both played football. You know, like after the game, that moment with the team, it's the reason why they don't let the cameras or anybody else in there. That's a moment that's supposed to be between the team. Meanwhile, this dude is going live. And this is where I think AB realized his talent could get him out of harm's way and out of a lot of trouble, simply because this is the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, one of the most storied franchises in all of sport. We know their standard. You know, when you think about Pittsburgh, you don't think about too many crazy things come out of there. Mike Tomlin had a statement, don't quote me on this, but he was like, pretty much he didn't punish him. Nothing at all happened. You play for the Pittsburgh Steelers and you going live, you doing one of the biggest no-nos and nothing happens to you. I think that might have been a moment like that. He was like, okay, because I think certain people, when they realize, man, my talent can get me out of a lot of trouble. He was that talented to where a lot of teams look at the chances he's had since then, that the team be like, man, listen, man, the risk is worth the squeeze. So, me personally, I think if you look at what he did in Oakland, I'll let you break the Oakland situation down because I done ran my mouth about Pittsburgh. But I think what he's done led up to that, led up to what we're going to end up talking about. But I'm gonna let Price jump in so he can talk about the Oakland debacle, how he screwed those guys.
Well, actually, man, I just want to get to what he just did, which was the biggest, right? So we can take a trip down the past in a sec, but let's talk about his on-field issue that he did just this past Sunday, right? So Tom Brady got him. He wanted to play with him in New England, but he got him to Tampa Bay.
Won a ring. Played a game in New England with him. A game. I remember I had him in fantasy.
Right. So he gets to Tampa Bay, wins a ring with Brady. Basically, Brady gave him a ring. That's basically, and he made sure he got enough passes so he could get all his bonuses. Now, the word is what happened this past Sunday is that Bruce Arians told him he's not going back in the game, which would have equated to bonus money because you get, for those of you who don't know, a lot of these big contracts are written up, especially because his contract is a 1-year performance base. So he gets so many catches, so many yards, so many touchdowns, he gets bonus money, which from what I've seen adds up to about $1 million. Now, if you have any type of etiquette, player's etiquette, and you are a team player in that position, no matter how famous or how talented you are, you figure out another way to get your money. You're freaking Antonio Brown. You're going to the playoffs. You're going to get your money. Instead, what he does is he leaves the game in the most eccentric fashion. Means he takes off his shoulder pads, takes off his shirt, throws his shirt into the stands, runs across the field, in through the tunnel, goes into the locker room, gets his stuff, drives to the airport, gets on a different plane than what the team is getting on. Bro, it was bizarre. And it was
literally clocked out. He clocked out.
It was literally one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in the game of football. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up first is because that's just not normal behavior. Now, let's take a trip down memory lane. Now, we understand not that long ago on the exact same team, he was suspended for 3 games for lying about having a vaccination card. Wait, was it lying about having a vaccination card or was it lying about having a vaccine?
He had a fake vaccination card. So technically it's both. Like you lied that you got vaccinated.
Right. So he actually
Which he didn't even have to lie about. It's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. So because he lied about it, he got suspended, which is the same thing that happened to Aaron Rodgers. So, okay, fair is fair. But before that, before he even got to Tampa Bay, let's talk about when he was in New England, the sexual assault case that was pending against him, which is the reason why Bill Belichick let him go. He didn't want that associated with that franchise. Before he got there, now it's the Las Vegas Raiders, but it was the Oakland Raiders at that time. Just built a brand new $3.5 billion indoor with nightclubs and all that kind of stuff. Brand new stadium in Vegas. And yes, they've had their fair share of issues this NFL season as well. But instead of going to the team where they're going to pay him top dollar, he's probably going to be paid. I think he was going to be the highest paid receiver in the league, right, Willie? With that contract.
Yeah.
He does something, another bizarre thing. He releases the recorded conversation that he's having with the GM of the team as a big way to say, F you, I don't need you. You're talking about $30 million, and all he had to do is play one game, and he was guaranteed that contract. Can you imagine that? That game he played with Brady, all he had to do was play one game in Oakland, and he was guaranteed that money. Like, he literally could have played that one game and did that after he played that one game, and they still would have had to pay him that money. Instead, he does what AB does. Then we go back to Pittsburgh, which is even before that. So it's it's a string of really bizarre behavior. And the point that I was going to make was this, because a lot of NFL players are saying he's having off the field issues. And you mentioned he's from Miami. It's a little bit deeper than that. He's not just from Miami. He's from Liberty City, Miami, which is the same place Ocho Cinco is from. And if you notice during his career, where I'm sure you know Ocho's background, grew up without a mother. Well, his grandmother raised him. He knew who his mother was, didn't grow up with a father. And so AB, similar, like Liberty City is the hood, bro. Like if you think we got the hood in Cleveland, you got to go check out Miami hood. It's a little different, man. And it's infested with a lot of the issues that you hear a lot of our young men and women going through all around, not just this country, but all over the world from the impoverished areas that they live in. Now, take a kid from that environment and give him millions of dollars and don't tell him he's the shit because he's talented and he can get away with stuff. I honestly think, and this is the point that I'm making, I honestly think, because a lot of us don't get over childhood trauma just because we become adults. I honestly think that it's a manifestation of all the trauma that he's dealt with in his life that he's never had the opportunity to heal from. So it's manifesting itself in these antics. That's not the behavior of a healed person. That's not the behavior of a person that knows who he is, that's one with himself, that has emotional control. That is not the behavior. And the reason why they've put up with it so long is because we know the brother can win you football games. We know having him on the field is an asset. Now, when he gets on the field, he balls out. That's for damn sure. That's why they paid him the money. That's why Brady wanted to play. Trust me, Brady would not have wanted him if he wasn't confident that he can do the things that he can do. But honestly, bro, and I'm going to pass it back to you, I think that may be his last go round in the NFL.
I think AB is an asshole. I do not think that's his last go round in the NFL.
Talk to me.
I thought it was, but I sat back and thought, like, no, there's a team. Even if you look at like now, you hear rumblings like, no, somebody will pick him up. Somebody will give him another chance. There's a team, there's always a team that feel like they can fix anybody. I look at it like this. If Tom Brady in football can't help you, first off, if Tom Brady on the football field can't help you, dude, you need Jesus Christ. Like that
bro, I'm gonna tell you what's funny, and I meant to cut you off. Sorry, but not sorry. This dude has I can't remember what it is, but it's a Jewish temple built inside of his house. And he's not even Jewish.
Man.
So yes, he does.
And it's crazy. Like you talk about Bruce Arians, if around the NFL from players and everybody, I heard he's like one of the most player-friendly coaches. Like
he really seems like it too.
Yeah, so you got Tom Brady, and keep in mind, remember, Bruce Arians didn't even want him there. He did not. He went on the press conference and said last year before, like, we're fine without AB. Tom Brady literally went in there and talked him into
yeah. And bro, Tom Brady talked Belichick into getting him because I don't think Bill wanted him either.
Man, this what I think a lot of teams should do. And I remember Chris Carter, right? If you look at Chris Carter's history in the beginning, when he's with the Philadelphia Eagles, he dealt with drugs a lot, right? He was in and out the league, and he said one of the best things to happen to him was the Philadelphia Eagles cutting him. They just cut me. And Chris Carter is, you talking about talented. That dude, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he is.
And he was like, you know what? I feel like if the Eagles hadn't cut me, I'd have never woke up. That was my moment. It's like, all right, I have to wake up. I got to mature. I feel like by Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, I feel like that one moment of him doing that, because that was like his first moment right there when he was going live. And that's why I wanted to make sure I brought that up. I feel like if you handle that right there, he's never been in a position like now. I don't think it matters because he's made a lot of money and he is who he is. But if you put him in a position to where man, okay, football is about to be gone. Like it's either I got to get it together or not. I think now to be in a position to where the sport that you love, you worked. He was a 6th-round pick, so he worked hard to get there. He didn't go to a big college. He went to, I think, Central Michigan. If they had, I feel like if you had to like really discipline him and just not just worry about the talent because the talent is benefiting you, but actually put him in the position to where he had to go get help. He had to sit back, evaluate his choices, get it together. I think maybe you could have rectified it then. But like by people just looking at the talent, looking at what they can do, he could do for the organization, he could do on the field. I feel like he developed that. And I think with a lot of players that's not disciplined, they develop this mindset because this is what the teams are telling them. Yo, I'm so talented that I can do whatever X, Y, and Z, and I'll still have a job because my talent speaks for itself. That's why I feel like he'll get another job because even now today, I think AB is still a top 10 wide receiver if you just go off of pure talent. And that's hard to deny that. I think that's why he'll get AB will be our best wide receiver on the Browns right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He would be the Steelers' best wide receiver. Like he will be a lot of teams' best wide receiver, and that's why I think he'll get another shot. But I hope, listen, man, I hope he gets the help he needs. But I feel like, man, they created not them, but they played a part of it. Like by them just letting him get away with it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like teams do that. Like they don't care about, man, listen, what can you do for us? But if you rectify that in the beginning, I feel like he could have really sat back. Because when I heard Chris Carter say, like, man, the best thing that happened to me was getting cut by the Eagles because I thought it was over. I had to really take the steps to leave drugs alone. I feel like that when you feel like it's gone, you can't play the game no more, whatever it may be, whatever that passion is you love, when you feel like you can't do that no more, I feel like that's when you sit back and really think like, man, all right, I got to get it together, man.
So I'm going to say this one last thing, and then I want to end with a question to you. So I remember I used to have a client, and my client knew a football player who had just written a book. Guy played for the Browns and he played for the Saints. Met him, we talked. He said, "Hey, I'm in town. We got the alumni game Sunday. Do you want to go?" So we went to the game, and as we were sitting there, he said, "Man, look around. Do you see these 80,000 fans?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Let me tell you something. I don't care how big you are in college, it will never compare to the magnitude of the NFL." He said, "It's not just the money. It's the fact that you got to think about it. This is your entire life. It's literally like living a movie. You don't have to go to class. You don't have to be eligible as far as your grades and whatnot. You're obviously getting paid, but this becomes your whole life." He said, "The fans are a different level of fans. The women are a different level of women. So it feels like you're literally in a fantasy until it's over." And I remember hearing an Olympic, I can't remember her name, but she was an Olympic gold medalist. And she said, one of the reasons why it's so hard for athletes to ever think it'll ever be over is because you got to think about how much time they put into their craft. There's, for professional athletes, it's train, eat, sleep, perform. And then when you're not training or performing, you're kicking it, you're hanging around family, but you don't have to go to a 9 to 5. You don't have to go to a job. You don't have to do anything other than that. So that becomes your whole life. So you don't ever think outside of that until the money stops. So my question to you is this. We've seen mental health in pretty much all of sports now because you got a lot of pro athletes talking about it. Do you think that mental health counseling should be mandatory in the NFL?
I think it should be mandatory in all sports. I don't think just NFL. I think it should be mandatory in all sports because, like you said, most athletes come from a lot of them come from the inner city. They may come from different backgrounds, and you got to think, once that athlete gets drafted, he or she takes on the responsibility of the entire household that they grew up in. They're like overnight, you go from just a son or a daughter to provider now.
But everybody's
dependent on you. So I think you do need that.
Though.
You said what?
That's black and brown athletes. To be honest with you, there's actually more white athletes in this country, but what you're saying is for the black and brown, right?
Yeah. No, and listen, I'm talking about as far as drugs too. There's white athletes that deal with drug too. Like I think like for both, it should be. Because like when we think of struggle, we think a lot of times just growing up in a bad neighborhood. Like it's different types of struggles. Like that's one thing I think like we should start pointing out too. Like some people's drug may not deal with living in like poverty or living in the inner city. Some people's struggle may be you may live in a suburban area, but taking pills or drugs may be your struggle.
That's where most of them do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think it like, and you imagine, right, having a drug addiction and then you get millions. You got acts, man. Listen. Whew. But yeah, I think it should be.
Bad, bro. Well, hey man, we hope AB, we send up prayers for the brother. We hope he gets the healing, not just the help, but the like, not even just as an athlete, make him a better man. AB is a father. So I would want his children to be able to look at him with pride. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, daddy made mistakes, but I was able to heal from that. So definitely send up prayers for him and all the athletes who are struggling with things. You know, we understand that, look, it is just a game. We know it's your career, but you have a life outside of that. So with that said, man, we want to first off thank y'all for continuing to rock with us in 2022. And it's going to be an exciting year. We got some cool things that are about to come up. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please make sure you subscribe to us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple, and Google. If you haven't already, follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We're back on TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And you can actually find all of these links if you just go to the blackculturepodcast.com. Willie, you got anything, brother?
I'm good.
Hey, man, it has been an honor, a pleasure. We can't wait to come back with some more fresh content. It is the Black Culture Podcast. That is the Willie Ashford. I am Price. Peace.